Let's go!
Food additives. We just had an incredible conversation back and forth with our staff talking about food additives and food enrichment. And I know we did the video last week about food enrichment, but there was actually some questions. One of the things I love about our team and I love about LT360 is that we're always constantly doing exactly what we teach our clients to do, and that is continually learn and grow and expand and stretch yourself. There's always things that pop up that we have to discuss. There's always new things. There's new food manufacturers are always putting new little twist and turn on food labels. So you've always got to be willing to be educated and be coachable. And so today I want to talk to you about a label that was sent to me from one of our coaches, and we had some back and forth, some great dialogue back and forth. But first of all, I want to separate what food additives are from food enrichment. We talked about the enrichment processes where nutrients and minerals and vitamins are stripped out of foods in the processing and then added back in synthetically most of the time after they process the food. That's food enrichment, and that's different from food additives. Food additives are substances basically which are added into foods. Most of the time they're added in small amounts, and they're added so they can enhance the quality of that food, but they generally don't include things like the vitamins and minerals that get stripped out in an enrichment process. So food additives, what they're basically designed to do is they're designed to increase the shelf life of foods. They're also designed to increase the quality of certain foods too as well, like the texture or the coloring or the consistency or the taste of that food. And a lot of people think that food additives are added chemicals, and that's not necessarily always the case. It's important to understand that most food additives are actually natural. For example, one of the things that we see most of the time in our food labels is lecithin. And lecithin is used as an emulsifier, and that's actually obtained from egg yolks. So it's actually very, very natural. Some other examples as you look at your food labels, and you may be wondering what they are, whether it's an enrichment or whether it's a food additives, examples like preservatives or coloring substances, flavoring substances, flavor enhancers, antioxidants, and then actually the one I saw today is food conditioner. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I want to discuss a food label that was sent to me that said 100% whole wheat, and it was a bagel. Okay, so one of our coaches sent this and said, hey, what do you think about this? And so anytime you see something that says 100% whole wheat, it's generally a safe bet that that's going to be a pretty good food choice. So, and again, when it says 100% whole wheat, that's actually going to give you the best advantage to look at things we're trying to limit or avoid. So I want to talk about that label today. Okay, and I want to give you some priority in how to prioritize your labeling and your choices. So I'm going to tell you the first ingredient was fine whole wheat, which is absolutely fine. Second ingredient was water, perfectly fine. Third ingredient, wheat flakes. Fourth ingredient, sugar. Although it did have a low amount of sugar, I think it was 4 grams of sugar and 5 grams of protein. So one of the things I always look at is, particularly when I'm adding a non-protein source, in other words, that's not my main protein source, I always look, is the protein higher than the sugar? Generally speaking, if it's in single digits, so the single digit grams of sugar, and the protein is higher than the sugar content, I generally approve of it most of the time. The fifth item was wheat gluten. Sixth item was yeast. Seventh item was cornmeal. Eighth item was wheat bran. Ninth item was salt. And then the 10th item was bagel conditioner. And this is where the issue comes in. This is where the question was, because in parentheses, when it said bagel conditioner, it also said enriched wheat flour. Enriched wheat flour. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and I'm a little surprised that they can label 100% whole wheat, that they would label it that way. But interestingly enough, in this scenario, from a food scientist and a food chemical standpoint, it actually does qualify as 100% whole wheat because it actually is an enriched wheat flour. That means nutrients were stripped out and then added back in. So again, and it's so far down on the list, it's number 10 on the food label, on the items. So again, it's going to be a very, very small amount. So when you're looking at food labels, I want you to really, really focus in on the first few items that are listed. 4 or 5 would probably be, at the furthest down the list that you would really even consider, because everything else is going to be very, very small amounts and trace elements, okay? So I want to give you some tips real quickly on how to kind of look through and prioritize, because ultimately what we want you to do is become your own health and wellness expert. We want you to have flexibility. We want you to have freedom. We want you to have choices, because that's the only way that it's going to last long term. Yes, we can put some guidelines in place. Yes, we can put some framework in place. But ultimately, for you to be successful long term, as you get your mechanics in place, you need to stretch yourself a little bit and grow and learn to have confidence as you're reading the food labels, and give yourself some space and also give yourself some grace. So this is a quick review real quick. Number one, we want you to avoid or limit refined sugars and refined grains. That's number one. If it says refined grains, or it says refined sugars, and it's in the first couple of ingredients, I would definitely stay away from that. Number two, stay within your calorie range of 300 to 400 calories per meal while you're in the transformation stage, according to your BMR. So if your BMR is a little bit higher and you can stretch your calories out a little bit each meal and go closer to that 400, that's fine. But stay within that range while you're transforming, so that your body can heal or repair itself and release that stored fat as either food or fuel. Number three, try to get at least half your body weight in grams of protein each day. It's very, very important that you understand this, and it's part of that range that we set for you in the beginning, so that your body can begin to adjust to the things that it really, really needs to process and metabolize the right way. And then number four, avoid those foods that say enriched in it if it's in the first few items listed on the label. Again, it's not going to kill you for certain, but again, it's really not going to be beneficial to you long term if you're always selecting and choosing food items in the first few items of the label that say enriched, because again, it could be a synthetic, it could be added, it could be binders, it could be fillers, it could be a lot of different things, and it could also be chemicals as well. So I will talk at another time about food chemicals, but again, you want to try to stay away from the enriching process particularly if it's in the first few labels. And as always, we're here for you. Your coaches are here for you. If you ever have a question, don't hesitate to ask, because we want you to one day become your own health and wellness expert. And just like you, we're always growing, stretching, and expanding our knowledge as well. So God bless you guys. I hope this clears some things up for you. Take care. We'll see you soon.